you doing?
Yeah.
Welcome back to Leather Helmet Sports Podcast. It is Super WildCard weekend.
Why do you keep saying super?
I believe they say it's Super WildCard.
Why is it super?
Because there used to be a wild card, but now there's an extra game, so they make it Super WildCard.
So it's wild card. But
Yeah, whatever you want to say. But anyway, so we're gonna restart. We didn't really have a good regular season, so we're gonna press the restart button, see how our playoffs do, and then at the end of the season, or at the end of the playoffs and Super Bowl, we'll compile them together and see how we do. It is also the week of Josh's newborn baby, Chloe, which you just had. What's Monday? Monday, which today is Friday. So shout out to Josh and his
5
newborn
days.
baby. It's his second one. So now we both have
fantasy
two.
luck, but that's okay.
Yeah, maybe it'll bring you fantasy luck this week. I was actually thinking about that. I was like, man, dude, you're going to hit the lock, and then she's going to be born. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great time. And then your lock just completely shit the bed because of Jaguars. But all right, well, let's get right into the games. We got first one is Browns versus Texans. I got 2 for the game, I believe. Browns are going over to Texans because Texans are divisional champions. And my first bet is going to be David Njoku over 55.5 receiving yards at -114 for 3 units. This dude has been getting targeted insane rate since Joe Flacco has came over. And now I think he's going to continue it even more with the sheer fact that their defense will be able to hold him, so they should be able to have time of possession win percentage, I guess you would say, for that over the Texans. And I believe the Texans' pass defense is completely trash, while the Texans' rush defense is pretty decent. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I looked into. And with that being said, him being, I would still say the number 2. Maybe if you put the target shares together, he might be the number 1 targeted over Cooper. But either way, I know he looks for him to check down and to make big plays. He's also done a lot of yak plays these past few weeks. So he's definitely going to be implemented in the game script. And regardless if they're down or up, he'll get used early and often, and enough to go over to the 55.5. That Texans can compete, even though Browns defense is pretty stout. I think Texans has enough offensively that they're not just going to get blown out of the waters. I don't think they're going to win, but I think they have enough to make it competitive, which means they'll have to continue to pass the ball. Hopefully that doesn't turn out the opposite way of me thinking, but with that being said, I'm going to take that as my first bet on that game. You got anything on that game?
Yeah, so I just got CJ Stroud passing yards. So Browns have a really good defense, but they kind of get exposed, especially when they, I guess you'd say, downplay their opponent. So anytime they think they have a locked-in win, they really don't play up to their level that they can play at. So I see CJ Stroud. I mean, it's his rookie year. He threw for, I think he might have broke the record for rookie passing yards. Either way, it was
going to
over 4,000 yards, something insane. He's having a great year, and I think he's just going to show up. And even if he loses, he's going to try his heart out and get a bunch of passing yards. So I'm a ladder from 250 to 300. So 250 plus, I'm going to put 2 units on at plus 104 odds. CJ Stroud 275 plus passing yards is plus 194 odds. I'm going to put 1 unit on that. And then I'm going to put a half unit on his 300 plus yards, which is plus 360.
I know one thing to obviously note, again, I guess it would be against him, is when he's played tougher defenses, he's usually had worse games. But like you said, it's his rookie year. It's playoffs. He's not just going to go out not swinging. So if they are going to go down and go down fast, he's going to be throwing the ball a lot. The only tough part is he doesn't have his his rookie deep threat anymore. But he still has Nico, which has been balling all over the place. He has Brown, which came over from the Cowboys.
Schultz.
He's been balling, which he can do deep. They got Schultz. So he can still have plenty of targets to pass and share around. One little note, when taking or looking over all these games, this is the toughest one. Although I think the Browns are going to win, this is the toughest one for me to say like who's definitely winning. Like the rest of them, all 6 games, the other 5 I could look at and be like, yeah, I think this team's going to win convincingly.
No, I mean not with me. I'm not as sure.
Yeah, I mean there's only KC and
I'm like 3-3.
Dolphins,
like 3 I'm unsure about, and 3 I'm really sure about. But the odds kind of show that.
All right, well, let's move on to our next bets. I am going to move into, I believe, the next game, right? Saturday? Yep, it's Dolphins versus Chiefs. Obviously, you got very known players in the backfield for Dolphins, but their secondary, for whatever reason, has been letting up a lot of receiving yards while they've been stopping the run. I believe they're top 10 for their rush defense now. So they've been pretty good there, while KC's defense is very stout versus the pass. Very, very good versus the pass. I believe they're like top 5, and their rush defense isn't as good, but still pretty good. So I see this being a very high-scoring game where it's a lot of passing because I think Mahomes wants to be like, oh, well, we've been sucking all year. Let's continue to pass the ball. Especially since Miami's rush defense has been pretty good and pretty shut down lately, especially too. So with that being said, I'm going to take Rashee Rice over 67.5 receiving yards at -114 for 2 units. I just see him being targeted more and more. You could just see it if you look through each one of his games week after week. Since he's came into the playing, he's just been getting more and more targets. Now he gets like an average of 9 targets a game in the past 5 weeks. So I can see him being targeted enough where he can get it done versus this Dolphins defense that's injured all over the place. I believe both their starting edge rushers are out now as well. And there's a lot of questionable tags going on them. I don't know exactly how they will be come game time because obviously someone will be game time decisions. But either way, you have Xavier Howard and you have both of their starting safeties questionable. So the secondary that was bad could get even more worse depending on how injured they are and what injuries they're playing through. Obviously, they can shoot up them stems and feel a lot better during game time, but I'm going to take that bet for 2 units. You got any on the Chiefs game?
Yeah, I actually got, my famous parlays.
Hell yeah.
It's one of my, actually it's my biggest bet of this wildcard weekend. So it's going to be a parlay with CJ Stroud that I already spoke about, and then both the QBs in this game. So Tua Tagovailoa, whatever, Lova.
Hello. Yeah, not even try.
Yeah, Tua, Mahomes, CJ Stroud, all to get 175 plus passing yards. You get negative 190 odds, so lots of juice. But I just see all 3 of these quarterbacks as pretty much top 8 in the whole league, maybe even top 5 when CJ Stroud gets more experience. I shouldn't say that about Tua. I don't think he's really top.
He's the passing leader, though.
Yeah, no.
So that says something.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like,
be there.
Elite level, I don't think he's elite, but he has elite. He has elite receivers.
So all 3 to get 175. The third one was Patrick Mahomes, you said?
Yeah. So 3 of them, 175 plus. Passing, you get negative 190 odds. I got 10 units on that one.
Surprised you just didn't add what's his name in there, to be honest, though, because Texans is so bad.
I just don't. Well,
it's not bad.
The reason I didn't add him. He has the worst odds out of everybody, and they didn't give him an option for 175. His lowest option is 200, and it's at negative 1,100 odds.
Yeah, that's ridiculous then, because the fact that, like,
Mahomes and all of them, their 175 plus is like negative 600.
That just tells me, like, my bet of Njoku feels really confident, or Cooper. So if you're going to bet on anyone, I would bet on Cooper or Njoku to go over the receiving because one's hitting. Maybe take both and just split it. I don't know.
I mean, I agree with that, but I feel like his passing is definitely, like, he's been throwing a lot.
And you can
he's been hitting this number.
Thing.
Yeah, but I just don't. I feel like if they're going to win this game, they're going to win it by being up and running the clock out.
I mean, they don't want to get I think that's how it will go, but that's just because I think they can win.
He could easily go under 250 yards.
But literally, Texans are like the bottom, like,
I don't know,
25 to 32, I believe, in passing yards allowed. So I think they're just.
And I think the
trash.
Texans have an underrated pass rush.
Yeah. I would say
Pass
that.
rush is pretty good.
But it's the fact that their secondary is just complete trash.
Yeah.
But anyway, I am going to move on to another game. I don't think I have anything else there. You have anything else in that game? How many units was that? Sorry, I
10
missed that.
units.
10 units. So we got a lock on the board. Okay. And what's the odds?
Negative 190.
Negative 190. Juiced lock.
Haven't juiced that hard in a while. So
I think if you go negative because of parlay locks, I think next year you need to take a little note down that you don't do.
But I feel
parlay
good about this one
locks.
because it's not like usually my parlay locks. There's like a mix of different
like
types.
super easy, and then one that's like I feel confident about this, but it
kind of, but more so like they're usually like a rush prop with a spread or a rush prop with a total point. It's rarely. Or I don't know. I just feel a lot better about these guys hitting that mark.
Oh, definitely.
Every single one of them hit it except once this year. So each one's missed it.
And
just one game.
Game script wise, like we were just talking about with the Texans and Browns game, you think Texans are going to throw more? Plus, he would have been the leading passer in the league if he didn't get hurt. I think he would have been ahead of Tua. Tua's passing leader, and then we obviously know Mahomes can do what Mahomes can do. So when it comes to whatever, he's going to definitely get 175. 175 is just like a
low number for any
NFL. It's just like a joke, to be honest. So I definitely like it. It's just juiced, obviously, out the butt cheeks.
Yeah, you only win about half of what your bets.
All right, time to move on to the Sunday nights or Sunday slates. Well, I think there's only 2 of them in that game because then there's one on Monday night. So we're going to move into the first one. I got Steelers versus Bills. Bills looks like it's going to be 1 to 2 feet of snow like we were talking about earlier. Who knows if it gets flexed to a different stadium. I heard rumors about it going to Cleveland's stadium because they're down at Texans, and it's like the closest one to both of them. And it's a neutral stadium, so they might move it. Hopefully they don't because I really want the snow on my side, so then it helps Steelers. But I am going to take Najee Harris over 58.5 rushing yards at minus 114 for 1 unit. He's already up. They've already moved the line up to 60.5 or 61.5, depending on what your market shows, or your book, should I say. So I think regardless of the snow or not, he can hit this because the past 3 weeks he's literally gotten like double his workload for rush attempts. So they've literally just been running the ball with what's his name, Rudolph coming over, and then Rudolph is pretty accurate to the point that he can not throw away the game and not win the game with his arm, but not blow the game. So like they can still use him and get Pickens open for a deep one, which then opens up the field for the run game. But it's more or less the run game that they've been very efficient with lately, and I think they're going to stick with it. And Najee Harris has been running at like a 4.1 clip per yard, while the Bills let up a 4.4 to running backs. So with that being said, if he gets at least 12 rush attempts, would that put him over? 12 at 4, let's just say 4 a clip.
48.
48. So you got to get it to like 14, 15, something like that, which I believe they have his line at 15.5 right now. It's probably even up more now. So it's the sure fact that I think he's going to get the attempts while going against a defense that has been letting up 4.4 yards to the running backs all year. And their secondary is where they excel at. But I think this might be hopefully it's a snow game because I really want to watch a snow game, and it will be Steelers give them a better chance of winning versus the Bills, because I think if not, then I think they can definitely lose them. But if snow comes into play, I think anything can happen. I think they can win. So I'm going to take that at 1 unit. And real fast before you get into yours, my other one in this game is Dalton Kincaid over 42.5 receiving yards at minus 114 for 1 unit. Again, this really comes down to the game script of it being very windy. If it's not, I know it's going to snow. Regardless if it's at Brown Stadium or not. I don't know if Browns have an indoor stadium. I think they have a retractable roof. But regardless, this really comes down to the game script of Bills pass more than they rush, but they have been rushing a lot more lately with Cook, and he's been dominating. But you have, what's his name out? Who's their deep threat? Davis. Gabe Davis, he's out for the Bills. They haven't declared it yet, but with the way Diggs has been talking about, oh, we're doing this one for Gabe Davis, blah, blah, blah. Basically just incentives, whatever that word implies that he's probably not going to be playing, which is their deep threat, and they've been targeting him a lot lately. So that means the work has to get spread around. It could go to the slot dude, the little white boy, I believe, or it could go to their tight ends, which he obviously loves. Dalton Kincaid came on the scene red hot after Dalton Knox went down. So this is the rookie tight end. Bet on him a lot this year. Been winning on him, so I'm going to stick with him at 1 unit over 42.5. -114. You got any on this game?
Negative.
All right, we'll move right into the next game. What do you got on what's the next game? The next
Probably
game
nothing.
is Cowboys versus Packers. You got anything on that?
Do not like this game one bit.
All right, I'll talk about it real fast then. We got Packers versus Cowboys. I think this is the most confident game in my eyes for me that I think that Cowboys are going to win.
It's a trap.
People could say it's a trap all they want, but it's a sure fact that, Cowboys have literally been one and done for like year after year after year. I believe last year they won their first round, if I'm not wrong. I don't know if they won their first round.
One in the last 8 years.
But regardless, they don't really win playoff games, but this is the time where if they wanted to play any team, it's going to be Green Bay Packers. Packers, in my eyes, don't belong here just as much as I don't think Steelers belong here. Being a Steelers fan, I still don't think they belong here. Those are the two teams that I would say just get them out of the playoffs. They don't need to be here because their rush defense, Packers rush defense, is abysmal. They are probably the worst rush defense in this playoff, I would say. And with that being said, Cowboys' strength is their pass game. So if their strength is their pass game and their weakness is getting a bump up because Packers' weakness is the rush game, then they can run and pass now because they can run efficiently. So then if they can run, then they can open the field with the passing. Plus, what's his name has been blowing teams up. Lamb, he's been having an amazing year. I think he's going to completely get targeted over and over and over. But with that being said, I'm going to take Tony Pollard over 60.5 rushing yards at -114 for 1 unit. I think it's very high for Pollard, especially with their rookie running back. I don't know if he's a rookie, but I don't even know his name, but he's been taking away work. But the past few games, the past 3 to 4 games, he hasn't taken away that many rush attempts. So that's pretty good. It's more or less their snap share that he's been taking away from. So when it comes to rushing, they're giving it to Pollard. And I think with this game, me doing game script wise, I think Cowboys are going to get the lead, keep the lead, and maintain the lead for the rest of the game. I think there'll be one time that Green Bay Packers will take over, and I think it'll be like right before the half or right before the second quarter. They might be able to take over the lead, but I think Cowboys will have the lead majority of the time. I think this is a Cowboys team that is way different. I believe Cowboys fans say that year after year after year, they're like, oh, this is the Cowboys year, this is the Cowboys year. But this Cowboys defense is completely different, and their offense has been phenomenal. Dak has had a great year. He's kept to his word by holding down his interception rate. Doesn't really happen as much anymore. As long as Pollard gets to his game, I think they should be clear, and this bet should be smooth sailing. I'm also taking Brandon Cooks anytime touchdown. He's basically their number 2 to CD Lamb 1 on this team. I'm going to take it at a half a unit at +220. He's been targeted pretty good in the red zone, but I think it just comes down to more that Lamb's going to be targeted or defended double coverage almost every single time they're in the red zone now. So with that being said, Cooks can easily do it. The past 3 weeks, he's got a touchdown in each game, and the past 6 weeks, he's had 5 touchdowns. So the past 6 weeks, past 7 weeks, 5 touchdowns. Past 3 weeks, 3 touchdowns. So he's been pretty red zone efficient, and I'm going to take the half unit on that at +220. And that's who I got for that game. And I guess there is 3 games on Sunday, isn't there?
Yeah, but before we move on, we're going to take a quick break.
All right, sounds good.
And bring us back to the other 3 games.
Let's catch you guys on the other side.
We're back. Break time over.
All right, so we're going to move on to the last game of Sunday. I believe it is Cowboys versus...
No, we just did that.
Oh, we just did
Rams
that?
and Lions.
All right, so we're going to get into the last game. It is Rams versus Lions.
La, 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 la.
I believe both secondaries aren't that good. I can't really remember off the top of my head.
Rams
I know Lions aren't.
Better this is better more recently versus Lions are the opposite. They're worse in the back half, but both of them are like bottom half secondaries.
Okay. I know Lions' rush defense is phenomenal. That's what I know the most.
Yeah, but they've recently been getting beat. They're both top half rush defenses, but Lions have the edge, obviously.
Yeah. Either way, I think the Lions are going to win this one. A lot of people are taking Rams, which I believe they're the underdogs, especially with Lions being home. So I'm taking Lions on this one, to be honest, and I don't think it's going to be a close one. They destroyed them earlier in the season already, and Montgomery went over this line versus them before. So I'm taking David Montgomery over 54.5 rushing yards at minus 114 for 1 unit.
Hop on it.
This is really low for Montgomery, in my eyes, to be honest. I know they've been giving Gibbs a lot more work, especially towards the end of this season, probably to see what he can do for the playoffs and what they're going to do in their future. Obviously, they signed Montgomery to him longer than 1 year, I believe, so that doesn't really matter that much. But either way, I could see Montgomery getting it. He runs more in between the tackles, where Gibbs runs usually out towards the sides. And I think Rams' fast-paced linebackers can get to Gibbs more often on the outside than versus up the middle, which they did actually versus the first time they played each other. But I think Montgomery is more of a ground and pound up the middle of the tackles, and I think he'll be able to get more of the work than Gibbs will. And I think they'll also be in the lead a lot more. So this comes down again to game script and it being very low for Montgomery. Usually he's in like the low 60s, high 50s all year, and he usually goes over it majority of the time because their offensive line is very, very good as well. So I'm going to take that at 1 unit for minus 114. You got anything in this game?
Yeah, I actually got quite a few. So I got 2 on Montgomery also. I got Montgomery most rushing yards of the game. So,
but Gibbs could obviously beat it too.
Honestly, both of the other running backs could beat it. I just am a faithful in Montgomery. I think he's going to get the most attempts between Gibbs and Kyron Williams, because I think, like you said, I think the Lions can actually get ahead in this game. And Kyron hasn't really played this hard of a rush defense. So I think he's just going to get the most work, and he'll ground and pound out, average 4.5 yards per carry. I mean, the odds are really good, too, for this. It's plus 280.
Damn.
So he's just got to beat out
That's really
2
good.
running backs, and he probably
that
should.
Scares me on my bet then, actually, a little bit.
So I'm putting 2 units on that, and then I'm also going to put 1 unit on his anytime touchdowner. It is right now at negative 125.
I like it. I like that.
And then lastly, I got a parlay because, I got to have a parlay. I got Puka Nacua, 40-plus receiving, and Montgomery, 40-plus rushing. So both of them 40, negative 150 odds. I'm going to put 2 units on that.
Negative 150. That sounds kind of lock-worthy.
I just don't.
But that's juicing it.
Yeah, I just don't like his line is only 53.5. It's only 14 more yards.
I feel more comfortable. Yeah, I feel more comfortable with Puka than I do Montgomery for sure.
Yeah. Well,
especially if Gibbs just takes over the role for whatever reason because they want to. Like, they could pick and choose and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I think they're going to be respectful of Montgomery, especially in the first. It might be his first playoff game.
Bears. Definitely.
So I think he's going to show up, and he's the better runner. He's not as explosive, but he's the better overall rusher when it comes to ground and pound.
Right. All right. Well, my last one on that game is actually with Puka Nacua as well. I'm taking his over 76.5 receiving yards at minus 114 for 1 unit. It's as simple as like I just talked about earlier. Detroit Lions secondary is not that good. They're actually obviously hurt with think both their starting safeties are one corner and one safety being out since the beginning of time this season. So they really have not excelled this year in the secondary. Obviously, they got good pass rushers, but it's more or less just them letting up yak plays and them letting up big plays. So I'm going to toss it to the dude that usually gets big plays in the game. He's been targeted more than what's his name the past 3 weeks. Yeah.
Cubs been dealing with injuries all year, though.
Yeah, he probably has been dealing with injuries, but I think it's also the more sure fact that they know he's young, Puka, and he can do the same thing Cup can, basically, with how well he's been showing up, especially when you're going against, like I said, Detroit Lions secondary. I think he's going to be able to do it. And I believe Cups was like at high 60s or low 60s, but I looked at all of his like stats, and I just don't really like he's super inconsistent this year. Obviously, like you said, dealing with injuries, coming off the injury from the beginning of the year, but then also in the middle of his towards the end. So I just don't really like his, and I really like Puka's because I think that he's going to get fed like crazy from Stafford. And like I said earlier, I think Lions are going to be in the lead more, so they're going to have to pass the ball more, which means Puka Nacua is going to get more chances on the ball. So I'm taking it at 1 unit over 76.5 receiving yards. And that's all I got for those games. Do you got anything on Monday?
I do
Eagles
have one
versus
bet,
Bucks.
but I'm not a fan of it already. The more I think about this matchup, I just feel like it's not a good matchup for the Eagles. Like Mayfield's,
No, I don't like the matchup at all. It's horrible.
Mayfield's not the kind of QB we want to play against because he's actually going to sling the ball.
Yeah.
And he has the receivers to easily beat our secondary. That's not even good to begin with. And then on top of that, the Bucks' rush defense is actually very good.
Yep.
So if we can't run the ball, I just don't have enough faith in our offense to be able to get down the field at almost every drive, which honestly they might have to because I don't think our defense is going to show up like they should. All that to say, I'm still going to go back to the old faithful. We're going under Rashad White because he sucks. He does get a lot of rush attempts, so let's just hope the Eagles can put their big body dudes and show up and just squap the dude for -8 yards to start the game.
I hope you say I hope you say 1 unit.
I don't have 2 units on this one.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna hurt you.
He's under his line's pretty high though. 63.5.
63.5
rushing yards, so under.
I mean, I like the Eagles winning this game. Like you said, you don't like the matchup. I still like the Eagles winning this game.
I mean, I think they should. I just don't trust them to
I think
win.
they should, and I think they will win it. I think that's it. After this, I think they're
I'm not confident in that the Eagles are going to win this game, which a lot of people I feel like are betting on the Eagles.
Oh, definitely, especially around these.
But people are going to be like,
pots.
"Oh my gosh, they lost the Bucks first round." Like, I wouldn't be surprised.
They did shit on the Bucks earlier this year, but their rush defense was a lot better than it is now. Eagles' rush defense, and on top of that, their secondary was
I actually
bad.
locked this.
Secondary is horrible. Their defense
I hit this
is
lock.
trash.
Where's Rashad White? When they played the Eagles, and he got like 20 yards.
Yeah,
it was
I had him
embarrassing.
as one of my locks too. Speaking of locks, I'm going to move on to my last bet. It is not with Eagles and Bucks. I will release a reel so you can be over on YouTube for that. YouTube short for YouTube content, anyways, and Instagram reels for that game because that's Monday night. But my lock is the first game on Sunday. It's Steelers versus Bills. I mean, this game, it's a Steelers fan going in hard, but it's obviously also me understanding the Steelers all year and understanding enough. He's given enough games and enough script for Mason Rudolph to show me what he can do and what he can't do, and what this team can do and what they can't do versus this Bills team. And I think they'll be able to keep it close enough. The plus 10 is so disrespectful, so I'm taking the plus 10 at -110 for 10 units.
Don't like that, but I like it.
I love it because it's just going to give me an amazing start to these playoff bets. And on top of it, there's going to be, like I said earlier, 1 to 2 feet of snow. Hopefully they keep in the Bills Stadium because that favors Steelers because their run game has been great as well, whereas Josh Allen has been fumbling it like crazy, throwing interceptions like crazy. There's also high winds as well. I believe it's in the 20s and gust of 35 to 40 miles per hour. So it's not going to be easy to throw it to, even though he obviously has an arm and he can throw it through the winds as well. But it just takes away from Bills if there's more weather condition issues, whereas it excels the Steelers. And this is playoffs. Plus 10 is disrespectful for that Steelers defense. I get we don't have TJ Watt, but if you don't know who Nick Herbig is, you'll know who he is by the end of this game because he's probably going to have a sack. If he doesn't have a sack, he's going to have a bunch of QB pressures. And I still think our defense can apply enough pressure for Josh Allen to make mistakes. And Steelers really don't have this big of gaps. They've only let 2 games go over this plus 10, which is versus Texans when they got dominated in 49ers, which they got dominated at the beginning of the year. That was also the beginning of the year. That was with no Mason Rudolph. And that was also with Minka being out one time, which Minka is now in. I just think this is a more brutal game than people think, and it's going to be a closer game than people think. I believe it's at plus 9.5 now, so if you didn't get it at plus 10, your loss, I'm taking it at plus 10 because that's where I got it at.
It's going to get a push.
It could be a push too, which is why I love the lock as well, because it's either I'm gonna lose or I'm gonna win or get push in my eyes. Whereas now it's at 9.5. So if you're gonna take it,
losing spreads
just don't lock it
because of game scripts. Like your team's down by a lot, so they don't go for field goals and like they just choke at the end.
Well, that's another thing. This game will have no field goals really in it if the weather stays the way it is.
Yeah.
That high of winds and that much snow, like it's literally never going to be field goal. It's going to be going for it on first or going for it on fourth, which then obviously creates good field I don't know, advantage position.
If you looked up like the history of like heavy snow games, the spreads are probably never end that high.
Oh yeah, definitely not. Like the max I could see it going is plus 12. Like that's all I can see. I can't see it being more than 12. So you're getting it very close to that max in my eyes. So since you're getting it that close, I'm taking it as a lock for sure, knowing the Steelers defense. This is also the healthiest.
Like -114.
It was -114, but like I said, it's already down. Or it was 110. I got it at for plus 10, but now it's at -10 at -105. I think
taking it.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's also the sure fact that this is the healthiest we've ever been minus TJ Watt. So, literally, we have almost all of our players besides one linebacker that's out in IR. He's been out for a while. That's actually really good, too, as well, Quan. But it's also just TJ being out, which is we don't win a lot of games with TJ out. But guess what? I'm not placing them to win. I'm placing them to not lose by 10, which is the Steelers defense. So
Bills all the way, +6. Or not +6. Win by 6.
They can win by 6. Go for it. I don't care. But they ain't gonna win by 10. That's for sure. Lock it in. I promise you. We're gonna come back next week, talk about it just like I said, and we're gonna talk about Josh's lock because I actually really like that. It's the 175s, right?
175s from Mahomes,
the first
Stroud,
3 quarterbacks. Besides whatever his name is, Flacco.
He doesn't have an option even.
Right. All right. Well, that's it for this week. Let us know down in the comments your guys' bets. Obviously, it's playoffs now, so more and more people are going to be betting. We're going to see how we do in the playoffs and overall bets. And if you guys trail us, I hope we go positive so we can go positive with you as well. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Hey.